President Biden in Brussels and that high-stakes show of unity, something Biden says President Putin never saw coming.
The single most important thing is for us to stay unified and the world continue to focus on what a brute this guy is, and all the innocent people's lives are being lost and ruined and what's going on. That's the important thing. But look, if you're Putin and you think that that Europe is going to crack in a month or 6 weeks or 2 months, why not? They can take anything for another month, but we have to demonstrate. The reason I asked for the meeting, we have to stay fully, totally, thoroughly united.
My co-anchor Terry Moran is there in Brussels. ABC White House correspondent Mary Alice Parks with me here in Washington, and ABC News national security analyst Mick Mulroy also joining the conversation now. Terry, how is this war shuffling the world order, this unity the president talks about, and how we think about NATO now?
You know, Keir, it's real, that unity. You can feel it. NATO has, in recent years in particular, had plenty of squabbles, plenty of splits that Vladimir Putin has exploited for years. But it has a different feel here, a sense of grim determination and unity and new purpose, a purpose to confront a much more aggressive Russia that is not only confronting, that is not only invading Ukraine, but as the NATO Secretary General just told me, contesting our core values is what he said. I spoke with NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg just a few minutes ago as he was concluding these meetings. He stopped by, and I asked him about the war in Ukraine, especially that impassioned plea from President Zelensky for more tanks and more aircraft, and how NATO is not going to deliver on that at this point, and also about the question, who is winning? Here's what he had to say.
But again, we are providing a wide range of different types of...
tanks, not aircraft.
But I'm a bit careful going into all the details of exactly what we are providing. We see that what we are providing is helping. It's helping to shoot down planes and also destroy invading Russian tanks. But NATO has two responsibilities. We have the responsibility to provide support to Ukraine. We are doing that. We are imposing sanctions on Russia, but we also have a responsibility to prevent this conflict from escalating beyond Ukraine and becoming a full-fledged war between NATO and Russia. President Putin will lose. The question is when, because the whole thinking that you cannot trust people, that you don't respect democracy, rule of law, is not a winning idea. If anything, I think what we have seen over the last weeks is the strength of democracies, the strength of democracies standing together, putting pressure on President Putin, providing support to the freedom fighters, the people fighting in Ukraine for freedom, and also the way we are able to make the strongest alliance and most successful alliance in history even stronger.
So even though NATO is not obviously getting involved directly in this war, that has been an absolutely solid commitment by the President of the United States and by the allies. They are a critical player here because of that lethal aid that continues to flow. And the Secretary General did seem to hint, perhaps, that more was coming and that perhaps trying to meet President Zelensky's need and demand for tanks and aircraft, for the real decisive elements on the battlefield, maybe NATO can come a little bit farther. But right now, it's not happening.
So, Mick, President Biden announcing those new sanctions as well today on more than 400 Russian elites, those oligarchs, and he seemed, frankly, pretty annoyed when a reporter actually pointed out that so far those sanctions simply haven't stopped them or Putin. Take a listen.
Sanctions never deter. The maintenance of sanctions, the increasing the pain, and the demonstration why I asked for this NATO meeting today is to be sure that after a month we will sustain what we're doing, not just next month, the following month, but for the remainder of this entire year. That's what will stop him.
Your reaction, Mick?
So I think nobody expected the sanctions to be able to stop President Putin from his desire to invade Ukraine. I think that was factored in. However, I certainly do agree these were meant for punishment, and over time they could cause significant problems for President Putin in Russia, as not just the average Russian person is getting hurt, but just from these new sanctions you announced today, or you told us that were announced today. They're going after the specific elite that keep President Putin in power. So these are not only the oligarchs that essentially hide his money, they're also his KGB mafia that he's known for years, that he's put in key positions to help keep himself in place. As they go after them, the Duma, basically their Congress, this goes after those who could actually influence President Putin, and it was a good step today.
So, Mary Alice, the president also committing another $1 billion in humanitarian assistance and says the U.S. will also accept up to 100,000 Ukrainian refugees. With regard to the refugees, how does this compare with other wars? And how long until they can actually get here to the U.S.?
Yeah, Kira, compared to other wars, 100,000 refugees from Ukraine would be significant. It's on par with other major conflicts when the United States took in, for example, refugees from Vietnam after that war. But the big question, like you said, is how long would it take for Ukrainians to get here and whether Ukrainians want to come. Right now, we know the refugee system is so backlogged, it can take years for people to get a visa. A lot of activist groups are saying that they need to be fast-tracking folks, expediting folks. But that billion-dollar number is maybe more significant. The White House so far has really been focused on the immediate needs of refugees, millions of people who have crossed the border into those countries. They say that people want to stay close to Ukraine, they want to stay close to their homes, but they need help right now. And obviously those Eastern NATO countries are really feeling the pinch. They are worried that the crisis could just become overwhelming.
And Terry, President Biden also spoke about China's role in this war, saying he's hopeful after talking to President Xi that he will not get involved because the country's economic future is tied to the West. Do you think the president is being a bit naive here to actually take Xi at his word?
Well, he and Xi actually have a long-standing relationship. President Biden, during the campaign in 2020, said he's probably spoken with Xi more than anyone else because when he was vice president, Xi occupied a similar role in China. So they were a contact point for the two countries, and they got along. President Biden thinks he understands the man. That said, I think you're right. Look, China certainly does not want to get involved at all, but they also don't necessarily want to see Russia, which is a partner and which just before this invasion, recall, Xi stood next to Putin and they declared that there are, quote, no limits to their friendship. And so President Biden, in his call, his long call with Xi, obviously reminding Xi that China's economic success depends a lot more on Europe, which is its largest trading partner, Europe. And the United States, also a giant trading partner, than it does on Russia. All that may have had something to do with what China is doing, trying to stay out of this and not assist Russia, as U.S. intelligence says Russia has asked. But it's also the stench of defeat that is now, or stalemate at least, that is now arising out of the very poor performance of the Russian army. That undoubtedly is persuasive as well. Xi does not want China to side with a loser and get dragged down into that morass. So it is a difficult position for China, made more difficult by the determination of the President of the United States to remind him of the consequences of assisting Russia militarily.
Terry Moran, Mary Alice Parks, also Mick Mulroy, thank you all so much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.